Hello everyone, my name is Kola, I'm an APA technical trainer and this lesson is part of the Learning by Syria. In this lesson, we will discuss the XML reading and parsing. And before we begin, let's talk a few words about an XML structure. Every XML document consists of a lot of nodes. Every node has the name, you can see it here, and actually the value which this node holds. Every node may have also a multiple children nodes, as you can see. And of course, the children nodes in their turn may have a lot of another children nodes. All of this finally gets to the root element, which is usually the most high-level node. We call it the top-level node. And every document will begin from this node, then the root element will have few nodes, everyone will have its own few nodes, and if we are talking about the classic XML, when we have a lot of elements which are the same, so usually our book element will be very similar to another book element and will have the same properties as all the book elements on this level. For the example of this video, we will use an XML document, which is right now have no ending XML, it have just ending of text, and every XML document you can open with just text editor, and you can see that there is a lot of nodes. Each node is dealer, which have property of dealer code, and it have the property of name, and it have a property of some add1 something and add2 and so on and so on. And we will read and parse this XML document with help of RT Designer. And please pay attention to one small thing. As you can see, there is no root node element. It just begins straight from the first dealer. And this is so because practically the root element may have a lot of options, and the RT Designer works much better when you strip everything from the beginning and from the end. You have only the list of the elements, and the root element we will add ourselves just one step before we go to read this XML. So first of all, if I want to read the dealers from this XML, I have to create my business entity. I will create my user-defined type. I will call it dealer. And my dealer will have a few text properties. I will create them very quick. So the first one will be add1 and add2 and city and dealer code and fax and name and phone and postal and province. All these properties I took from my dealer example. I understood that every dealer have a dealer code, and everyone have the name, and everyone have the add1 and add2, and you can actually take one row, parse it, and then you will understand which properties your user-defined type will have. So I created my dealer, and I will create list of dealers which I will populate from this XML. I have here one spare property which I will remove. Now, in the next step, I will create another user-defined type, which I will call XML Parser. This type will hold all the functionality for me, which will enable me to read the XML, parse it, and to fill my dealers list with dealers business entities. Now, all the XML functionality is placed in the library types, XML, and you have the XML document, XML element, and XML node. So for my XML parser, first of all, I will add one property, which will be of type library objects, XML, and XML documents. This is my XML documents, which I will work with, and I will use the functionality of the XML document. So I will name it XML document. For every node of my XML, for every node, I want to be able to provide property name and to read the property value. So I will create the according function of get tag value, new function, get tag value, and this function should receive, of course, the XML node and actually the text, which will be the name of the property I want to get the value for. So my parameters will be XML node, and the type, of course, will be for XML node. And also I want to provide the property name, which will be just text. This function, of course, should return me the value of this property, so my return type will be text. And for the instructions, I want to run on all children elements of the XML node which is provided. And if the property name equals to the name of the node, I will return its property. So for each in XML node get child nodes, I will call it inner node. For every inner node, I want to check if my inner node name equals, even ignore case, to the property name, then I will return the inner node value. Otherwise, in the end, if there was no property like that, I can just return some text that will indicate it, like something like not found. Now my function is ready. I have no any else. I don't need it actually. And it seems like I did a very small mistake over here. I will not use the value property, but I will use the function getInnerText here in this function. To use the functionality of XML document, I should first of all load it with XML from my file. And as you remember, my file is just the text file, which have no root element, so practically it's not a well-formed XML. So I will create additional function, which I will call load XML. And what this function will do, it will first of all, let's create additional property. Let's call it XML text. It's just this is business entity which will just hold temporarily the text for me. So I will read the text from my file to this XML text. I will then add the root element and I will load all that inside of the XML document. So load XML will have the function of assign into XML text. I will use the library function from the file, read text from file. I will provide my file will have the path I will just find my file, dealersexample.txt, shift right mouse button. I will copy as path, then I can go to my function and I can paste it here. I will remove the double quotes as I don't need them. And also I will take my file name out of it, Ctrl X, and I will put it here in the file name. So now I'm taking the text from the file to the XML text, and the last thing I need to do, I need to load my XML document with the text from my business entity with addition of the root element. So I will invoke the function of XML document load XML file, XML, and my XML here is the concatenation of text concatenate, the concatenation of root. I will add the beginning of the root element and I will add my XML text, and of course in the end I will add the closing tag of the root. And the last thing I have to do, I want to actually create a function which will get dealers for me from the XML, so I will add new function. I will call this function get dealers. This function should first of all, of course, load XML, so function invocation load XML. When my XML will be loaded, I can practically, first of all, I can take the root node from there to get all its children, so I can declare some local variable, which will be of type XML node, of course. I will call it root node. To get this root node, I can assign into root node to the root node, I will assign my XML document get the first child. Now this is my root node, and I want to iterate through all his children and one by one to read their properties to the dealer and then add this dealer to the list. So insert instruction for each. For each, my collection is a root node get child nodes. This is actually every record in my XML. I will call it dealer node. For every dealer node, I will create some local variable of type dealer. I will call it temp dealer. This temp dealer properties I will read from dealer node. So, for example, if I want to read the dealer code from the dealer node, so I will use the assign. Let's move it a little bit up. I will assign to my temp dealer code, what my function which I prepared before, get tag value, will find in my dealer node. So I will assign get tag value. The XML node will be dealer node. And the property name for the first property will be dealer code. If I'm not sure, I can go here and I can just copy from this place. So my function will search inside of the dealer node for some node which named dealer code. It will bring me the value of it, and the value will be assigned to the dealer code of temp dealer. So very quick, I will do it for all the properties of my dealer. So I will paste all the properties, and I will bring also the name, and I will put it, of course, inside of the name, and I will bring add one, and I will put it to the add one, and I will bring add two, and I will put it to the add two, and I will bring also the city, and let's put it to the city, and let's bring the phone, and I will put it to the phone. Oh, I have no phone, so I will go very quick, and I will add to my dealer another property of phone, back to my function, so we have the phone and province. So province, and let's add the province to province, and two additional properties, the postal, which will go to postal, and the last one is for fax, and this is, of course, will go to the fax. So now when my temp dealer is full of the properties, I can actually add my dealer to my list of dealers. So let's go to the last line, and let's invoke the function of my list of dealers, add item, and I will add my temp dealer to the list. Practically, this is it for the functionality of XML. The one last thing to do, I cannot assign these properties to my local variable temp dealer before I actually instantiate it. So I will assign to my temp dealer I will assign library object business entity create just to enable it to hold all these values. So to test my function, I will create an event handler which will invoke this function when solution will be loaded. So I will create an instance of XML parser. I will go to business logic to the event handlers, and I will create the new one for start. And the event will be certainly administration solution loaded. And I will invoke the function which I prepared from business entities, XML parser, get dealers. Now we can run the project and test it. And let's test our solution very quick. Let's run the main project. When it runs, I will go to the monitor to test my list of the dealers. And it have right now, you can see live how it fills up by the dealers from XML, there is a pretty long list, so it takes few seconds. But for every dealer, in just a moment, there is a little bit more. Very long file, honestly. So for every dealer, all the according properties were pulled. Practically, this is it for XML parsing, and thank you for watching.